Dear Journal, September 23, 2007. I've been out of the hospital for 4 days now. But whatever world I'm in now that I'm out is certainly not the one that I left when I lost consciousness 2 weeks ago. I knew it the second I regained consciousness a week ago. The voices around the bed were familiar, but I had never heard these tones before as they begged. What could I have done to make him not want to do this? Or how could I have missed the sign? Or he was such a happy guy normally. Surely if he hadn't been so underslept or stressed out, he would have never made such a brash decision. Or maybe he's on drugs. I could hear them trying to solve this mystery intellectually, and could I have opened my mouth or even my eyes to jam that conversation straight away, I would have. But alas, my comatose state had imprisoned me to lie motionless and process these, to me, counterintuitive reactions to a choice I had made. The world is full of prideful people who want the good and the bad, the success and the failures to fall onto their own shoulders. It seems to me to be from that perspective that they're asking such irrelevant questions about why I chose this for myself. Almost like if they could just identify that one moment where they shouldn't have reacted so harshly to the 40th pair of glasses I lost, then they could just go back and not react so harshly to whatever the thing is, and I'd still want to be alive. Or like I had been trying to slip them the secret code that I was about to leave the universe and they just weren't clever enough to detect it. Or like if I had slept enough lately, I'd have a stable enough mind to realize how irrational it is to kill oneself. And to this very moment, 7 days later, I just want to capture these people's attention and shake them into realizing what they're missing when they try to take the responsibility of explaining this situation for themselves. What's easy to overlook when you want to edit my reality to fix this is that if you don't get mad at me for losing my glasses, it isn't reality anymore. And what's easy to overlook about not seeing the signs is that the mission of killing myself successfully depends on not being detected by your radar. It's always seemed obvious from my position that even hinting I'm thinking about leaving the building means instant confinement to a straitjacket or a padded room or a mind-numbing drug at best, which is like simultaneously forcing me to stay in a life that I don't want while at the same time considerably downgrading whatever quality of life I had at that moment anyway. So of course the more serious I get about doing this, the more I'm going to conceal the signs. And what's easy to overlook about the sleep deprivation decision concept is that it requires the assumption that I made this decision entirely in the 1 day span that I've been sleep deprived. Or if drugs had ever been part of the picture, that I would have made that decision in the 2-hour span that I would have been under the influence. Because it's more challenging to accept that maybe I was 8 years old the first time I considered doing this, when I had only lost my 10th pair of glasses. And that the passive curiosity that tomorrow might bring some redeeming reason to hang around one more day was enough to distract me from pulling that trigger in one way or another for 10 more years. Because accepting that I didn't love my reality in a way that you can't change means accepting that you can't hold yourself responsible for my own happiness. Accepting that you couldn't have seen the signs because showing you signs would have compromised the mission means accepting that no amount of cleverness on your part would have allowed you to see this coming. Accepting that I lived my entire adolescent life in the shadow of the desire to do this means this was not a random lapse of judgment. This was a lengthily considered genuine choice. In other words, accepting the relevance of my perspective of my own decision means accepting that there is no place in this situation for the very paradigm of self-responsibility by which you see the good and bad in your life. It's not your fault in any way, shape, or form. February 7, 2014. I haven't been to this hospital in nearly 7 years. It's not me this time, but it could have been any of us. Now I'm among the friends and family who stood here horrified for me 7 years ago, and I feel two distinct waves of anguish. One is the loss of a man whose life I will celebrate forever. This is an anguish I will accept, because the intensity of having to say goodbye to such a great dude is meant to be felt with no attenuation from every angle for every moment he remains with me. The other is an anguish I cannot accept. I feel the demons of self-blame have returned to this room, and suddenly I remember my own comatose imprisonment and the flood of self-blame and desperation for answers that surrounded me in that hour. And given that I've had the undue fortune of surviving my own crisis, the urge returns to me to embrace these people and tell them from the bottom of my heart, it's not your fault in any way. To our man, I wish you peace and I hope you found it. May the rest of us find it too.